Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the regular meeting of the ReGen Board of Directors. It's April 17th, 9:04. So I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Chair Shirley.
Here.
Vice Chair Delgado. Director Blackwelder.
Here.
Director Askew. Director Barber.
Present.
Director Garcia Arzola. Director McKee.
Here.
Director Pedori.
Here.
Director Byrne.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on the agenda is to welcome our new Director of Finance and Administration, Rosanna Guerrero. Welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
I also want to include Giselle Cotepe. She also, last month, we announced her position to the manager of finance, and she was actually outside of the room, so she gets another opportunity. And I also welcome Rosanna Guerrero. She joins ReGen Monterey with more than 13 years of leadership experience in public sector finance and administration. She most recently served as the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services for the South Monterey County Joint Union High School District, where she oversaw budgeting, financing, reporting, payroll, nutrition, transportation, maintenance, facilities, and operational services. She previously held leadership roles in the Monterey County Office of Education. Originally began her career in service as a tax auditor with the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. Rosanna earned her bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in accounting from CSUMB. Her Master of Education of Business Leadership is from Wilkes University and holds a Chief Business Official certification from the California Association of Business Officials. She also serves as a Board of Trustees for the Sprinkles Union School District. Rosanna is originally from Salinas, California, and spent most of her years as a military child experiencing a variety of communities before ultimately returning to put down roots in Salinas. She and her husband of nearly 17 years, Hector, have 3 children. Hector also shares a commitment to public service and serves as the fire captain with the city of Salinas. Rosanna's dedication to public service is what drew her to ReGen Monterey, where she is inspired by the agency's role in an environment of stewardship and its ability to positively impact not only the younger generation, but the generations and the communities to come. We welcome Rosanna Guerrero. Thank you.
Thank you, Barton. I am so excited, honored. All of the kudos to the team that has welcomed me, and I'm just so appreciative. And just like Ms. Melchor said, I did come from like the school side of the governmental finance accounting, and it was only ReGen that could have drawn me away from the kiddos and the high school students and everything. And it's really seeing that greater impact, right? Not just our students of our youth, but multi-generational, multi-community driven. I'm from this area, and so I'm just honored to be able to be a part. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Nice to have you. All right, we'll move on to public communications. Anyone wishing to address the board on matters not appearing on the agenda may do so now. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good morning, board members and ReGen staff. It's good to see you again. My name is Clayton Elms and I'm the CEO of Green Waste. Since 2015, Green Waste has been proudly servicing the 7 ReGen member agency cities. And as I shared at our last board meeting, or your last board meeting, I would like to reiterate Green Waste's long-term and unwavering commitment to both you and the customers in the Peninsula cities. Recently, we have been partnering with ReGen and the individual municipalities to further build on our shared goals around resource recovery and sustainable waste management. Members of Green Waste leadership team continue to engage with the cities we serve across the peninsula to address any outstanding concerns and discuss collaborative solutions to ensure our customers are receiving the most high-quality educational programs and service offerings they expect. Our team has attended town hall meetings throughout the region, scheduled onboarding sessions for any new staff hires, and conducted an in-depth analysis of the recent Monterey Peninsula Franchise Collection Service Provider survey results. Green Waste takes our customer feedback as a direct indicator of our performance. It will always be our goal to respond swiftly and effectively to all customers to ensure their needs are met on a daily basis. Based on the very positive feedback we've received regarding our services in the Monterey Peninsula, we've prioritised targeted action in the following areas to be consistently improving. Number one, ongoing enhancement of our public education and outreach programs, including going above and beyond to support community projects, educational special events, and in-kind donations. Number two, investment in top-tier technology and outreach strategies specifically focused on diversion targets. And number three, open communication pathways and continued collaboration with each member agency. 4, close tracking of compliance metrics. 5, a 30-day engagement plan and onboarding for all new city hires. And number 6, focused discussions on the POPs for all 7 cities in 2026 and beyond. I'd like to also address the narrative within today's staff report that Green Waste ownership may impact on our services in the long or short term. As we've continued to demonstrate since 2015, Green Waste remains committed to the highest levels of service. This includes our local team here in Merida, our corporate office in San Jose, and our board, which includes Green Waste's former CEO. I'd like to be very clear. Our owners only strengthen our ability to effectively deliver to the Peninsula communities, all of which is safeguarded by the provisions of our contract with you. Green Waste remains firmly committed to our partnership with the Peninsula cities. There are 4 more years remaining on our current contract and up to 5 additional extension years, totaling 9 potential years of partnership. In our team's collective experience, we have never seen an RFP potentially contemplated this far in advance of a contract's expiration. I'm kindly asking you to consider an amended and restated franchise agreement and extension with Green Waste rather than pursuing a costly RFP. Even if negotiating with Green Waste does not conclude in a way that is satisfactory to ReGen, there will still be ample time on the contract to issue an RFP before 2030.
Mr. Elms, time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public communications are still open. And just to remind you that I didn't stop you, Mr. Elms, but that does connect to one of our agenda items. And so if this is another comment for that, maybe you'd like to save it for that.
Okay, is that what the board's preference is?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public communications on items not on the agenda? Anyone online? Okay, I'll close public communications. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have items 6A and 6B. Would the directors like to pull any of the items? Anyone in the public like to pull any of the items from consent? Bring it back for a motion. All right, moved by Director Barber and a second by Director O'Leary. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll move on to the financial report for March 2026. We have Rosanna to give us our report.
Thank you, Chair. So this is our monthly financial report. We do this every month just to give you guys a snapshot of where we are compared to where we originally budgeted, right, at our July adoption or June adoption. So when we look at our overall year-to-date highlights, the net income we can see is approximately 1.7 million above what we originally budgeted. But that really is primarily due to those operating expenses being less than what we thought they would be for the year. And that really is what is offsetting the overall revenue shortfall that you guys have seen, you know, in all of these months that we have been reporting. So when we look at our total revenue, we can see that we're projecting 3.1 million less than our budgeted. We do know that some of that is primarily due to that reduced power generation that we weren't able to do for about half of the year so far. And then the lower material volumes, the tonnages just in general over our projected amounts, and our weaker commodity prices associated with MRF, which that is volatile. It's completely out of our control in that respect, but it is something that will always impact our revenue projections. When we look at our tipping fee specifically for March, we could see that there is a slight increase compared to last month, and really that is driven by the higher MSW tonnage that we got from our Valley Recycling and our green waste recovery. So when we look at our power sales, we were also able to increase that revenue projection because of the 3CE contract that we were able to implement, as of February, and we're starting to realize some of those new revenue streams for March. For our year-to-date employment expenses, we're 1.2 million in the positive on our budgeted side, but we know that that is based off of those unfilled vacancies that we've had since July 1, and also the reduced overtime across departments as a whole. We do like that because that means that our staff are taken care of and they're not having to do too much extra, that they're still healthy and sound. And then when we look at our year-to-date operating expenses, we're 4.5 million under budget. That is a savings. It does exhibit like that controlled spend overall, but it's just something that we want to monitor. I know that the board has expressed the desire to see these year over year and what those changes and fluctuations look like. And that is our intent, to be able to create that for you so that you'll see kind of that overarching highlight in that respect as we do a look back on actuals versus where we are within our current year's budget. So that is our intent, to go ahead and create that. I know there was a question also in regards to our capital improvement plan and the disparity between where we have currently spent versus our overall balance that we were budgeting for this fiscal year. And some of those differences really is tied to the Monterey One Water project that we had budgeted into our improvement plan, and also our CASP, which will be an ongoing project into our new fiscal year, because everyone knows that construction and things like that don't always go as planned, so it is something that will be carried over, and that's where you're seeing those differences. So I recommend that we accept the March 2026 financial review, and I'll also open it up for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Rosanna. Any questions? Yes.
First of all, welcome, and appreciate you being here. Looking forward to working with you. A quick question, I think this is general, like power sales, do you think they're expected to ramp up as we move forward?
Power sales.
Yeah.
That would be our intention, because we would like to maximize what we're not currently utilizing. But with contracts and things of that nature, we have to make sure that they're all structured accurately, and then that they're built in to be profitable for us as a whole, that is sustainable for us. And I don't know, Mr. McCullough, if you'd like to.
I'd be happy to jump in. On the power sales, we did initiate the agreement starting February with 3CE. We anticipate roughly 1.7 million from that agreement. It's 17,000 megawatt hours. There is some optics that we have to be aware. We have to produce the power. We have to get them what's specified in the agreement. We have to try to avoid penalties along the way. But it is our first step to recovering from power sales position. And then also the board will start receiving information on what our long-term vision is to maximize the landfill gas utilization studies that we've been conducting. So we really want to deliver a position where we can interpret how to maximize the gas, whether it's in power, renewable natural gas, all the options are on the table now. The board will receive another position so that we can get a longer standing position and a business model that could live for 20 to 30 years, as our last project in 1980 and 1990 in the current LFG. So we are just barely starting to tap in on, I would say, a third or a quarter of the volume of gas that we have available. But it is very complex. The existing power station that we have here is rated for 5 megawatts. We have enough gas for about 10 megawatts. So it does create the nuances of a new design, new infrastructure, and the strategies to fund. So that is what staff's been working on. We've received 2 studies already within the last 3 years. So we want to just continue to evaluate and bring the best options to the board to render a position so that we can start the planning, the build, the design, and get it fully operational so it can maximize the landfill gas utilization that we're looking for.
Yeah, appreciate the context. I just was wondering, like, does this require a budget amendment? Because it seems like it's still early days.
No, this one we're expecting to be able to produce what we agreed to with 3CE, so it will be in our budget. And we're expecting that we can meet the output that is the demand in that 3CE power system agreement.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all.
Okay, great. Any other questions? No. All right, thank you, Lana. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to recognition and presentations. We've got a recognition for Jose Luis Felix, who's a sorter 1 for 20 years of service.
Good morning, everyone. No, yo voy a hablar. I present Jose Luis Felix here, 20-year service in the MRF, all in the MRF. I actually remember his day 1, working alongside with him. He's been a great addition to our team, hardworking, willing to take on any task. He's a great help, especially on the tip floor. When we need tires recovered, sorted, stacked in our trailers, be shipped out safely, I go to him for his guidance, suggestions, and with him, along with his brother, they tag team everything out there. And he's a great person to have on the tip floor and overall positive attitude here every day, willing to work and lend a hand wherever's needed.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
He has a couple of words, maybe.
Bueno, bueno, estoy emocionado primeramente, ¿verdad? Esto no es todos los días. Siempre es un día especial y pues no solamente es un trabajo que yo hago, como dice el supervisor, ¿verdad? Sino que no es posible sin todo el equipo, tanto en aquella área del MUD como aquí, que tienen también su organización que tienen, pero también es importante todos nuestros compañeros que hacemos el labor, no solamente como yo, sabemos muchos compañeros más. Y yo estoy bien agradecido con ellos, inclusive con mis supervisores, los coordinadores de allá, que no se hubiera hecho posible, ¿verdad? Ver una igualdad de acciones como en el trabajo que todos nos ponemos a hacer, si esta labor que ya estamos ahí predestinados para hacer. Pero como les digo, si no fueran por ellos, que han hecho cambios para el mismo seguridad de las personas ahí entre nosotros, pues no hubiéramos llegado hasta esta etapa. Y me acuerdo cuando comencé, que fue apenas ayer, desde que entré, pues no es que quiera aguantar uno el trabajo porque no es fácil, todo el tiempo es algo diferente, ¿verdad? Pura mano de obra. Pero sí, se podría decir que no soy exagerado, pero sí me enamoré del trabajo.
Gracias por tus palabras.
Si Dios quiere,
Gracias.
hay que seguir adelante a ver hasta dónde aguantamos más. O que me aguanten. ¿Verdad?
Gracias.
So they just express his appreciation. He's really emotional about this day, the accomplishment of reaching 20 years and just being a part of the team. He wants to give recognition to his supervisory staff, not just in the MRF, but site-wide. It's a good feeling to have that he's part of a team, and he's hoping to have many more years to come.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, the certificado?
Thank you, Jose. Here, you need to put this in front. There you go.
Thank you.
Great. We have a second recognition for Eva Vasquez, sorter 2 for 20 years of service. I have her certificate here. She's not here, but I'm going to ask Leo if he can come up and say a few words about Eva.
Eva Vasquez, another 20-year employee. I remember her day one. And she's kind of on the quieter, shyer side, but she's a great help to have on the tip floor. She's a sorter 2, directing traffic out there, beating the public, making sure all the commodities coming in are correct and then designated to the correct area. And anywhere she's up on the lines too, she's up there, maintaining the screens and stuff during our shutdowns, just trying to get forward. And like I said, nothing but good things to say about her too. She comes, grinds every day on time, and she's a great person to have on the tip on our team in the MRF.
That's great. Thank you so much. All right, we'll move on to our discussion items. We're good. Okay, which is 9A, receive a presentation and endorse the staff recommendation to member agency elected bodies on the 2030 collection franchise planning process. Zoe.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Zoe Schotz, Director of Communications. I'm here today to build on some staff reports that I've given over the last few months regarding our 2030 franchise collection planning process. We have Rob Hilton with HF&H Consultants here joining us virtually today to give the presentation. But before we do, I want to recognize a few folks who have been integral in this process that are in the room with us today and some maybe that are online. We have the chair of the subcommittee, Nick Becker here from Pebble Beach Community Services District. Thank you, Nick. He's been leading this process for all the member agencies to come up with the recommendation that you'll hear today. We have Mary Bilsey from the City of Carmel by the Sea, and we have Kirsten Van Gend from the City of Seaside. And we also have a few other folks from Seaside, and thank you for current Green Waste staff members for being here today and former Green Waste staff members for being here today. It's nice to have everyone in the audience. So today you'll hear the recommendation that the tax subcommittee came forward with, and we'll have a couple actions for you for your consideration. And next, this same presentation will come to your boards and councils in roughly the coming month. So with that, I will hand this off to Mr. Hilton, who is here with us virtually, and we'll begin the presentation. Thanks, Rob.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Good to be with you today. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. We got a little bit of a wire crossing with the schedule today, but glad you're able to accommodate us virtually. We are here to report out on the work and the recommendations of the committee related to the franchising process. Next slide. So we're going to talk today through the results of the public engagement process, and in particular, there are quite a few slides here and in your packet related to the statistically valid residential survey that we conducted to understand community opinions around these services and satisfaction with the service provider. We also did engagement meetings with residential, multifamily, and commercial stakeholders, customers from throughout the service area to understand their needs, as well as engaging with green waste recovery and other potential proposers to the process, and want to report out on that. And then we will share the key considerations that underpin the recommendation of the committee and talk about the timelines and next steps for you. Next slide. All right, next. Let's get into the engagement results. And again, we're going to start with this residential survey that was conducted by Propulsion Research. Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't follow it in my packet.
This presentation is not, yes, this is not in our packet.
Well, this isn't
These slides are not in our packet.
Sorry.
But some of the information he's presenting is probably some of the graphs that you see in your packet, but this is different. Sorry, Robert.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Nope. Just good to make sure everybody can follow along. And if we go to the next slide, you will see these slides and these results in the attachments to the staff report for 9A that should be in your packet. So first item, About 93% of the community is satisfied with the services provided by Green Waste Recovery. This is pretty common. When we went out to the RFP about 10 years ago, Waste Management had a similar 90-ish% satisfaction rating, and we really attribute a lot of that to the frontline staff, the drivers, the customer service representatives. And a lot of those positions sort of stay regardless of who the operator is. In fact, a lot of the folks working for Green Waste now worked for Waste Management previously and were brought over during the transition. So a lot of credit to those frontline folks for that continued high satisfaction rate. Next. Pretty good intensity around the satisfaction. 27% of those were 66% were very satisfied. So that's a very high satisfaction rate compared to the intensity of the unsatisfied, where only 27% were very unsatisfied. So again, those that are happy seem to be quite happy. Next. When you understand the things that are troubling people, a lot of it is around cost or containers being missed or not put back correctly. And that cost sensitivity you'll see carries through some of the other survey responses. Next. Most folks, about 2/3 of folks, have not had any occasion to contact Green Waste Recovery within the past 12 months. And so they haven't necessarily had interactions with the call center staff. That also usually means that the frontline drivers are doing a good job of making sure everything gets collected. Next. The top reasons that folks are reaching out are to schedule extra services, to replace maybe a broken Carter bin or something that has a broken lid or a hinge or something like that, or to report a missed pickup. Most of these things, though, the fact that that missed pickup is only about 15% is a pretty good indicator that these are normal, calls based on an incidental need that folks have. Next. 93% of folks are satisfied that they got their issue resolved during the first contact, which is pretty good. Next. And those that don't get resolved tend to be things like large item collection, holiday trees, extra trash pickup, or some payment issue. And sometimes those things require a couple of interactions to get resolution. Next. About almost 80% of people remember receiving some educational information, which is good. In these public programs, it's often the case that we send out a lot of information and maybe half of people don't see it. And so the fact that nearly 80% reported seeing information that had been sent to them means that we are reaching people better than in other communities. Next. And they found the information that they received clear, educational, and easy to understand. That 96% is pretty darn good. Next. About 80% of people believe that they have their carts emptied on the regularly scheduled collection day consistently over the last year. Again, is a pretty good rating. Next. And the miscollection issues tend to be that the driver just didn't show up, or in some rare cases, the container was blocked by a vehicle or some other obstruction. Strikingly, nobody remembers that it was their fault that they didn't put out the container as the reason. In terms of the other programs that Green Waste Recovery offers to the community, the holiday tree collection and the battery collection programs are the most popular, the most frequently used, which is a little bit surprising. In most communities, the large item collection would be above the battery collection, and in many above the holiday tree collection. So that's a really good sign that your battery program is working great. It's also a sign in one of the discussions that we had as the committee that large item collection program could use a bit more promotion. There are some of the communities that feel like they don't get a lot of participation in that. That's something that could use some attention. Next. This breaks down program utilization by each of those different types of programs and who is participating. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but this is going to help inform sort of regardless of the strategy for procurement, this will help inform the service package and some tailoring of the services going forward. And similarly, we surveyed about barriers to why people aren't participating. The largest responses are that folks just don't need the service. They're not interested in receiving that particular service. And so that's the reason that they haven't engaged with it. There are, in some cases, not sure what items to set out for the program and not sure sort of what to do to participate in the program. And so again, that'll inform some changes to the scoping of those programs and particularly the promotion of those programs so people understand them better. But within those that are using those programs, there is a high level of satisfaction across the board, with the exception of the backyard service, where frankly, there were only 2 respondents and one was favorable and one wasn't. And so that's not a great sample size to articulate on. Could be somebody that just had a bad incident recently with a container not getting put back or something. But generally, people like the programs, the ancillary programs that are being offered, and feel they should continue. We did ask specifically about reasons for dissatisfaction about the programs. And again, these detailed notes will be used as we think about adjustments to services going forward. Some of these things are just, they happen. This is an indicator about sort of where folks are with affordability of the services. And about 47% of folks think that their recycling and garbage bill is just about right. About 29% say it's too high, and about 24% are unsure. And this tracks, regionally and nationally with increasing focus on affordability, and with some of the other questions that we asked the community around affordability. Next. There we go. 99% say affordability is most important. And we asked about their take on affordability, convenience, reliability of service, and you'll see some of those results later, but affordability came out as the top priority for your constituents. Next. And again, that intensity around it is very high. For 80% of the folks that responded to say that that is very important, indicates a really high intensity around that. Convenience comes up next as a priority, 98%. Not surprising, and this was a real priority when we spec'd the services for the current agreement. We heard from the community that, convenient, easy to access programs was a priority, and that continues to be the case. Next. And again, about 80% intensity around that criteria of convenience. So we know we need to have affordable services, and they need to be convenient to folks. Next. Environmental impact, important, but relatively less so among the criteria for folks. So they want to make sure that we've got good environmental programs, but relative to convenience and cost, a slightly lower priority. And again, the intensity on this one goes both ways. You get 25% of people saying not important at all, but 82% of people saying very important. And this tracks with sort of regional and national sentiment around environmental programs over the last couple of years. We're seeing that being a more charged topic publicly. And then quality of service, again, that reliability, knowing that driver is going to be there and service that container and not miss it, again, about as important as affordability. And with even higher intensity than affordability, almost almost 85 saying very important, and 25 saying not at all. In terms of new potential services that folks could get, we surveyed a series of different services: household hazardous waste, vacation holds, low income programs, different sizes of containers, additional service offerings. And so we got a bit of a ranking of what is a priority to folks, but dealing with those hard to handle household hazardous waste items seems to be a very high priority and something that we'll think about as we spec the new services, along with some of these others that got, 15% or more. Those are things that, are indicative of community demand for those programs. But it's also interesting to note that you've got about 26% of people saying we don't want any new services, and that may tie to the affordability focus. We surveyed folks about how they would like to be contacted in the future for communications, and we'll work some of this information into the Go Forward Communications program for the new contract. All right, so those are some of the key findings out of the survey. And again, you have those in your packet. And I'm going to go through fairly quickly the public meetings that we held, first with the single-family residential community. So we had 3 virtual meetings and we varied them. We did 2 evening meetings, hopefully when folks were out of work, and 1 during lunch for folks that were more able to participate for those. Included about 17 community participants across those meetings. It is awfully difficult to get folks to show up for public meetings about a new garbage contract until you start really talking about what the new costs are going to be and what the new services are going to be. So really appreciate those community participants that showed up and shared their input with us. Thanks to ReGen, those meetings were offered in both English and Spanish so that folks could participate regardless of the language they speak. From those, we heard that folks are generally satisfied with green waste, that they'd like to see more education around the programs that we offer, that having some customization within the service options for customers would be good. And we heard about things like textiles and HHW and changing bin sizes, all of which were surveyed, and we got some broader information around. We also heard a desire for more app-based mobile sort of self-help tools, which we're seeing more and more available in the industry, which is good, and better responsiveness when there are problems like misses. So all relevant stuff that's good to be thoughtful of as we spec the new service. Next. All right, next we did a bunch of outreach targeted to multifamily property managers. That included 46 different folks that we tried to get a hold of, ranging from 8 to 106 units, and connected with 7 different property managers, some of whom manage multiple properties throughout the service area, and had targeted interviews with them about their priorities. Next. So again, general satisfaction with green waste recovery from that sector. The multifamily property managers were much more sensitive than we heard in the residential meetings to rates and cost impacts. These are businesses and they're watching their budgets very closely and managing each time there are rate increases carefully with their rent management. And so that was something they talked a lot about. They really need consistent high quality service. If there are missed services in these larger residential environments, overflowing and stacking up of bulky items and things like that can really be a problem for them. And so making sure that that service is very reliable is a priority. And then they also expressed a need for more education and outreach to the property managers as well as to the tenants, and would like some support around illegal dumping and large items for those multifamilies. On the business side, similarly, we did some targeted outreach here, reached out to about 34 different businesses throughout the service area and connected with 15. From those 15 interviews, We got some good feedback. Next. Again, a bit more mixed satisfaction. We heard some more specific feedback on service issues around green waste from the business sector. Again, these weren't statistically valid. These were individual contacts, and so we sort of take that with a grain of salt, but a couple of folks had service issues. Again, business is very focused on rates and costs, very focused on their budget, can't have misses, especially the restaurants. It affects their aesthetic and their ability to attract clientele. They would like a little bit more flexibility around difficult to access or hard to service locations. We've heard for the entire term of this contract around the changes to the cardboard collection program, and particularly in some of the downtown areas, desire to work on an alternative to that. And again, more need for training and education to those businesses. All right, last, our industry engagement. So we reached out to regional service providers that are around your service area, as well as folks who proposed in the last RFP process to understand, their current market positioning and their potential interest in responding if an RFP were issued. All of the companies that we spoke with expressed interest in future partnerships. We actually received outreach from other folks who hadn't proposed and are a little bit further away, but who are also interested. And each of those conversations noted that the fact that ReGen has the franchise hauling yard adjacent to all of the post-collection facilities is really an ideal turnkey operation for any collection contractor to be able to start up here. And so you have made good investments to make sure that you can have a competitive environment there in your service area. This map just gives you a sense of the hauling marketplace around you, and you can see within a very close range of your service area, you've got Republic Waste Management, Green Waste, Monterey City Disposal, all providing services. And then just over in the valley, you've got a number of other companies, including Mid-Valley, who, because of that franchise hauling yard, could easily relocate. We also met with Green Waste Recovery in detail. They have a strong enthusiasm to continue as your service provider, expressed openness and a desire for sole source negotiations, provided us with a range of what they think the rate impacts might be resulting from continuing with them. In deference to Green Waste, I don't want to share those numbers right now because if it does become a competitive process, that may disadvantage them. But it was more than a COLA type of increase that they would be looking at for that. And then last, we spoke to them about the fact that when Green Waste was acquired by Macquarie during the term of the current agreement, there was a statement by Macquarie that their typical hold period for an asset like this was 7 to 10 years. We asked about the acquisition risk and where they were on that. And that is still a pending issue. We cannot be assured that the ownership of the company would be the same during the term of the agreement that it is today. Next. So as the subcommittee met for consideration of this, probably the biggest consideration around the recommendation was good governance, that an RFP process ensures a transparent and defensible public process that allows us all to go in front of the public and say this was in fact the best overall value for you, and a sole source process tells us this is the best deal that we could get with the current provider. Because affordability was a significant issue with all of the sectors that we communicated with, and that the sole source discussions, at least the indication that was provided by Green Waste in our discussions with them was more than a typical inflationary increase. We feel like, again, for the ratepayers and for transparency, it's important to be able to say we've received competitive proposals, and we've got, an understanding of what the best available pricing and overall deal were. There is a high level of satisfaction with Green Waste service, and there is a strong desire that Green Waste would participate in an RFP process. There's no performance issues that would cause folks to say we don't want them to participate. But there's also a recognition that the frontline labor, the drivers, and the customer service reps are a lot of the reason for that high level of satisfaction. And as we saw previously with the high satisfaction with waste management and the current high satisfaction with Green Waste, that's likely to continue if we retain those laborers in those positions. And then, as I described, there is some assignment risk with Green Waste recovery. And by going through a competitive process, we can think about some language in the agreements and some processes for how we think about how assignments would be considered and worked in the future, both for Green Waste and for any other respondent, as that's always somewhat of a risk in the marketplace. All right, in terms of infrastructure and readiness, again, the fact that you have the franchise parking yard as a publicly owned facility that you can turn over to whoever the service provider is, it really provides for the most cost-effective turnkey operation right there at the district to allow anybody to come in to provide the service that is qualified. Right, in terms of our timeline and next steps, so our next steps immediately are to go around to each of the participating agency boards and city councils to present this recommendation and get their approval of the process. Assuming that they approve the recommendation of the committee, we would seek to develop and release the RFP towards the end of 2026. And then during 2027, we'd be reviewing those proposals, interviewing, doing evaluations and that sort of thing, coordinating amongst the agencies with a goal of bringing decisions to councils late 27 or early 28. And that would allow a couple of years to transition the service, to acquire the vehicles, to transition any staffing that's needed if that's appropriate, and to prepare for the new services. And obviously, if Green Waste participates and is awarded, that transition might be adjusted or abbreviated. Throughout that process, we do recommend that each member agency or participating agency elected body consider a process integrity policy to govern communications and clarify the process for how proposers communicate with the process. And we've attached that to your staff report as a draft and has been reviewed by your legal counsel. So, final recommendation of the committee is for this board to receive and forward the recommendation to the participating member agency elected bodies and to consider supporting the subgroup's recommendation to initiate a competitive RFP process for these services, as well as to consider that process integrity policy. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks and I'm available for any questions.
Questions from our directors? Director Barber.
Thank you for the report and for all the information. I had a question about, I know it was 450 participants. I was curious about what the response rate percentage was.
That is 450 respondents that actually responded to the survey.
Yes, out of what number? What's your percentage of your response rate?
Oh, I don't have that. Probolsky Research did the survey, and the target end value for the confidence interval that they were shooting for was about 400, and they ended up with about 450 responses. So they over surveyed compared to what they needed for the confidence interval.
Okay, so they sent out, their goal was to send out 400, or do you don't know how many they actually sent out?
I don't have in front of me how many they actually sent out. Their goal was to get 400 respondents, and they got 450 respondents, which means they probably sent out something like 2,000 or 3,000 to get to that. But I do not have the number in front of me specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Directors? Dr. Byrne?
So it seems like with all the detail that you went through, in the end, you said you sort of expected the answers that you got. I mean, it's industry averages, regional averages. Would there been some kind of response rate for the cost, for the service levels that would have made you say there's no need to do an RFP? And if so, how high would that have had to be?
Interesting question. We do not consistently see, and we've done several of these surveys recently for processes like this, we do not consistently see affordability being the top issue. In some communities, the top issue is the reliability of the service. And in some of those communities, they've chosen to go with sole source processes because the preference is for keeping a high quality provider at a higher cost. And so the affordability aspect here was rated higher and was more sensitive in terms of people saying that they currently thought their bill was in about the right place. So if we had, say 60 or 70% of people saying they thought the bill was in the right place, and maybe only 93 to 95% of people saying affordability was a priority, that may have shifted some perspectives. But again, this was the committee's recommendation.
Part of the reason for the cost increases is decisions that we make here to increase their costs. So I think I have a hard time seeing, everybody's going to say things are too expensive, right? Nobody wants to have a garbage bill at all. It'd be nice if it was free. So some of this seems pretty subjective. And it's a serious thing. I recently had a discussion with the Green Waste folks, and we didn't talk about this subject, but we did talk about how we could work together on a longer term basis to do some really innovative things that could dramatically reduce their costs. But if we're constantly in a state of negotiation, I'm not going to have those discussions because I can't. You're going to tell me don't talk to them because we're negotiating. It just seems like we're tying up things for a long period of time with our business relationship with our supplier. And some of this just seems subjective to me, but that's it. Thank you. It was a very interesting study. I appreciate it.
Director Berduri?
Yes, thank you for sharing this information. I thought one of the items on the presentation, I just wanted to clarify. The slide says 67% have not contacted Green Waste Recovery in the past year, meaning 33% have contacted Green Waste Recovery. Of the 33%, are they contacting because of problems? Or because, one of the things that, for example, I contact Green Waste Recovery whenever there's a bulky item pickup. So is this 33% reflect 33 guys calling in for service, or is it a problem?
The slide immediately following the headline slide included the reasons people were calling, and only about 15% of those were for missed collections. The remainder were largely as you describe it. People calling for an additional service, people calling for a container to be swapped, people calling for a bulk item program, things like that.
Okay. And so that technically that means 15% or issues, 85%, relatively either they're not calling or just service collection. You also shared that there were some discussions with Green Waste and related to the future pricing. I know this can be shared publicly, but can they be shared in a closed session with the board? What those discussions were, or is that out of the scope?
So the Brown Act provides limited opportunities for the board to meet in closed session to discuss business terms of a potential future contract. So I'm not anticipating a pathway for the board as a whole to discuss business terms in closed session.
Yeah.
It is possible for this board to elect to establish an ad hoc committee of your board members that would have more flexibility in how they meet to discuss that matter.
Got it.
I would also offer that each of your member agencies had staff participating in those discussions, and a briefing from that staff member may provide you the information you're looking for.
That is helpful too. Thank you. And then just say final question somewhat. Seems like anytime there's a transition in service, effectively labor, like the people move to the new provider or the existing provider. So is there consideration in the RFP to, going to the RFP, is there consideration in the RFP to have like prevailing wage for the new kind of provider or existing provider? Continue with the same kind of wage services? If not, may I request to add that in as a consideration for the RFP? Maybe it's already there.
Yeah, in fact, the Teamsters passed a state law a number of years ago that requires that any solid waste franchise include considerations around the transition of the drivers. You do not have Teamsters, you have, I think, operating engineers, but the same rule applies. And so, yes, the franchise agreement or the RFP would include provisions that require a incoming provider, if it's not green waste, to offer any displaced employees positions. And that is in fact what happened with green waste coming into town after Waste Management, and many of the green waste drivers were from Waste Management previously.
Okay, all right, good to know. I didn't know that. Thank you. Final, sorry, I keep saying final, but the process integrity, I have not seen like a document like that process integrity procedural document. Are we as a board like blessing that document to be shared with cities right away, or is that going to be tweaked further? There's something with the agenda packets with the PIP, right?
Speak to that.
Yeah, so the recommendation from the committee is that this board adopt and recommend to each of the member agencies that are participating to adopt a process integrity policy. And happy to talk in more detail about what that policy includes. Would that be useful?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, can each city then tweak it further, or is it?
Yes, each city is welcome to tweak the policy to meet their needs. Yes.
But it's not, is it a compulsion, or is it just here's some information for you?
It's not compulsory, so it's up to each member agency and your council to decide whether to adopt a process integrity policy that would apply to the council and include its representatives on this body, as well as any future candidates who are running for office and who may be appointed to this body.
Okay. So since I keep saying final, I'll ask one more final question. So just the last resort here, right? Like we have some timelines. We are going to meet some timelines. What if we don't meet those timelines? We're not in 2028. We have not still finalized a provider, for instance. Does that give us an option to extend our contract? Is there an option to extend? Folks said that extension period. We can, right?
Yeah, there is a bit of slack in the schedule. If one of the things that we anticipate is that we've got 7 member agencies or participating agencies that each need to work through the process and make decisions, and then make a decision as a group, and then make individual decisions about how to tailor their agreements. The last time around that took a little longer than normal, and so we've accommodated some additional time for that individual tailoring at the end of the process. That could be abbreviated, and then the implementation timeline could be abbreviated a little bit. It's also the case that you have some extension options in your current agreements with green waste if things really got off track, but you're not in any way locked in right now because of that timeline.
Thank you. Thank you for at least working through with me with my questions. Final question. Go ahead.
Good, thank you. Dr.
I
Burton.
have another question. How many of these processes do you do a year, or I don't know what time frame, but in all the areas that you work with?
It varies from year to year. We're doing about 8 processes actively right now at various stages. Some of them sole source, some of them competitive.
What percentage of those engagements end up with the recommendation to do an RFP?
We do not make the recommendation to do the RFP in any of those cases. It's always city staff who are closer to the situation. And so in this case, it's the committee. I would say as a general rule, it's maybe 40-ish% that stay sole source, and maybe 50 to 60% that go competitive. Typically, the reason that things stay sole source is because the incumbent provider is able to continue either with a rate freeze or something that looks more like a COLA adjustment. And so, in recent situations like Livermore and Alameda and San Leandro, there were rate reductions and the community was satisfied with the service and they continued. In other recent situations, incumbent providers indicated, significant increases and the community went out to RFP, and sure enough, there was a 20 to 30% increase, and the RFP was able to rationalize for the decision makers, who to choose amongst that field.
Thank you.
Other questions from the directors? I want to thank the tax subgroup for your work. I know for the cities, you have other jobs you need to do, and you come and you do the work, and so I want to thank you for that. I value that work, and I appreciate the time you've put into this. And Rob, thank you for your presentation as well. Thank you to my directors. You've asked some of the questions that I had. Rob, I don't know if you can answer this question, but it kind of goes back to Director Barber's questions in terms of your response. We got a statistically significant return, which is great. I'm wondering if that was sort of spread across all the jurisdictions proportionately. Like, do you feel like we got a good sample size from all the different member agencies?
Yes, obviously Delray Oaks and Sand City are fairly small, so it's hard to get representative sampling from them, but the survey consultant was deliberate about apportioning the responses based on populations in the communities. And we can get each of you details, and will when we come to your councils, about how many of those respondents were from each of your communities.
Oh, good. Okay, that's great to hear. Thank you. In terms of the integrity process policy, Deborah, do we need to pass that separately for our board? Or if we do move forward with this RFP, is that part of our package today?
So the recommendation today is that this board adopt the policy to apply to the folks that are sitting on the dais that are board members. It would not automatically apply to each of your councils and other colleagues wearing your hat as a council member. But the recommendation is that each of the councils consider adopting the policy for all of the council members. But that would happen at each of your city council meetings and subject to any modifications that you deem appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm happy to hear that the frontline service staff would be offered jobs. Jose has been my garbage pickup for over 20 years, and I want him to keep coming. So my last question is, in terms of an RFP, that's developed, I'm assuming, by the subcommittee. Does that have to be approved by our board, or is that just developed and sent out?
I would recommend that it visit your board on its way out. I think that was a successful process that was used the last time around, where each time we went out to each of the city councils, we visited your board first with an advisory item. You don't have to take action on it, but it was good for sort of making sure that at least one member of each city council and board had a representative that was briefed on the issue and had heard it previously.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so at this time, I'll open it up for public comments. Any public comments on the item?
Morning, my name is Kevin DiVincenzo. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Green Waste. Today, you all are tasked with a critical decision to issue a competitive RFP for new contract and potential new service provider, which could likely result in higher rates, or continue our partnership and negotiate an amended and extended contract, which may result in a nominal increase, but only to the extent new programs or services are implemented that best fulfill your community's needs. It's important for us to address several key facts to consider with your upcoming decision. As we talked about today, in February 2026, ReGen conducted a customer satisfaction survey to gauge the effectiveness of green waste services to the 7 peninsula cities. Based on 450 survey respondents, 93% are satisfied with the services provided by Green Waste. Among those satisfied, as we saw, 66% indicated they were very satisfied. Only 29 of the 450 respondents noted they were unsatisfied. The majority of these noted high cost as the main reason for the dissatisfaction. In fact, almost half think that garbage and recycling bill is just about right, and 99% said that affordability was important. The sentiment is fully evidenced with the rates of the 13 franchised areas within the greater Monterey region. The 3 lowest residential rates in the region are held by ReGen cities serviced by Green Waste. The 3 lowest commercial bundled rates for MSW, recycling, and organics in the region are held by ReGen cities serviced by Green Waste. The average monthly residential rate for ReGen cities serviced by Green Waste is $6.09 less than the average rate of regional competitors. The average commercial bundled rates for MSW, recycling, and organics in ReGen cities serviced by Green Waste is $33.19 less than the average of our regional competitors. While maintaining the lowest rates in the region, Green Waste has also never requested an extraordinary increase nor triggered a cost-based review to increase rates since 2015, both of which are sediments within our contract. RFPs are known to be costly endeavors for you as the issuer and frequently result in even more costly monthly rates for constituents. This was experienced in 2023 when Salinas Valley Recycles released an RFP for the city of Gonzales, Greenfield, and Soledad. Bid results were 30 to 50% higher than the city's current rates. The lowest rates submitted in the RFP process were from Green Waste. Given these significant rate increases resulting from the RFP, the 3 cities ended up rejecting all submissions and ultimately decided to sole source negotiate with their incumbent service provider, Tri-City Disposals, for an extended term and nominal rate increase. We understand that maintaining highly competitive rates for your constituents is paramount to your decision today. This is even more important now given the extraordinary high period of inflation we are experiencing today, ongoing economic uncertainties, including high interest rates and fuel costs, and the anticipated increases in ReGen's post-collection disposal and processing, all being discussed today. By negotiating a new agreement with Green Waste, you have our commitment to ensure that each city's needs are fulfilled in the most cost-effective manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Good morning, ReGen Board. My name is Carl Minnie, and I'm with Recology. First, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to participate in the industry engagement. We gave a presentation in December. It was a great opportunity for us and really sparked our interest in ReGen Monterey. Recology is 100% employee-owned company. We're the largest in our industry with that type of ownership structure. We've been around for 100 years. We have over 1 million customers, most of those being in Northern California. We have experience providing services in JPAs like yours, where you have member agencies with a model franchise agreement, but where each one of those member agencies has a little bit of a unique service requirement, and we're able to fulfill those in the other JPAs where we serve. You have a tough decision in front of you today. I just want you to know that if you do choose to go to RFP, Recology would be thrilled and would love to compete in that process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Shirley, members of the board, Nick Becker, Pell Beach GM and Chair of your subgroup here today. Just wanted to first of all, thank ReGen staff for their support throughout this process, and thank HF&H for their support and helping us consult through this process. And perhaps more importantly, I just want to recognize Green Waste as our incumbent hauler, and just wanted to emphasize that this has been a tough decision for the committee to reach this recommendation. I think we highly value the service that Green Waste has provided, certainly in the last 10 years. I think that is reflective of the survey. But we also are conscious of affordability. I think that was highlighted earlier by Rob, and something we heard time and time again from constituents throughout the stakeholder experience. So again, this was a decision not taken lightly by this committee. We've been working on this collectively for almost a year now, and it's culminated in this decision and recommendation in front of you today. And we feel for good reason in good governance, transparency, and really an assurance that we're getting the best rate for our customers is how we came to this conclusion today. So with that, I just leave you with our support on behalf of the tax subgroup to present this recommendation to you today for your consideration. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Nick. Well, comments are still open. The online I did?
See none.
Okay. All right, we'll close public comments, bring it back to the board. Again, I want to thank the subgroup for all of your work. I think with the response of affordability being such a big concern amongst our residents, I appreciate the fact that you are looking at a process that could get us better competitive rates. I like the transparency of it. I like that you've provided enough time for this to play out too. So everyone has a heads up. We all know what's going on. And so I appreciate that. So any further comments on this item? I'll accept a motion at this time. Yes.
That we receive and approve the recommended motion from TAC to move this recommendation to the participating member agency, elected bodies, and consider supporting and support the subgroup's recommendation to initiate the competitive RFP process for solid waste, recycling, and organics collection services, allowing Green Waste and other providers to compete for a new franchise and approve the process integrity policy included.
All right, thank you, Director Barber.
I'll second it.
All right, second by Director Puri. Any other discussions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the work on that. All right, we'll move on to 9B, award the contract for the 2026 landfill gas collection and control system improvement project. We've got David Ramirez.
Morning, Chair Shirley, members of the board. David Ramirez, Director of Engineering and Compliance here at ReGen. And I have a couple of slides on this just to give some visuals of what we're talking about. This is a construction contract which we are requesting to award to BSC Engineering, and it has to do with landfill gas collection, where we drill wells into the landfill and we're able to extract the gas. This project in particular fills a lot of gaps that we have in the well field pattern, and it keeps us from having any problems like surface emissions or violations from that air quality standpoint. So if we could go to the
First slide. So a little bit of landfill 101, as I mentioned. Next slide. So this is kind of a very simple schematic. We have the trash and we have these gas collection wells which are drilled in. Those are pulled out of the gas is pulled out of the landfill and sent either to our gas flare or to our electricity generation. And we really want to maximize the amount of gas we can get because it is able to be put to a beneficial reuse. This is what another schematic of how they're installed. You drill into the waste mass. The image on the left shows the waste below. You put in a well pipe which has perforations in it so it can pull gas into it, surround that by rock and gravel. And then as the landfill produces gas, it's drawn into this well. And next click, the gas goes up the well and into the gas collection system. And on the right-hand side, you see a version of how it looks from the surface. So if you were driving around on the landfill, that's what they look like. And go ahead and play the video. So this is the drilling rig that will come out. And it may not work well. Oh, because we're casting it, that's why, huh? All right, so there's some latency in here. This video showed chunks of drilling going on and the waste being pulled out. Oh, here we go. And this project is drilling 14 wells and the associated gas piping required on the surface to be able to draw it out. A lot of inspections going on, quality control to make sure that the well is drilled to the proper depth. And this contractor is...
Question?
Yeah.
Is this going to include like a technical upgrade to what we have? So we're going to get more gas, cleaner gas? Or is it just we're going to be drilling more wells of the same type?
It's both. So the areas of the landfill that are becoming more active and producing more gas and better gas, as you mentioned, those are the areas that we're going to be accessing to get the gas. It's a lot of the same type of wells that we're installing, but they're going to be filling in the gaps. So from that standpoint, it's
will be more effective.
More effective collection.
Yeah,
and
there's not going
and
to be
more
as
gas.
much gas floating around.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Next slide. This is our current network of gas wells that we have on the site. There's about 100 or so gas wells, and we're going to be adding 14. So next slide. Yes.
Do these gas wells stay there for years?
Years.
Weeks?
Yeah.
How long average?
Average could be 10 years if we don't mess with it. So
we go back and check them all and pull them out periodically.
We check them monthly. So we check the gas quality and we check for compliance reasons every month. And we also have those wellheads that are continuously monitoring them. So we're able to pull out of the good wells and don't pull so hard on the bad wells with the higher quality gas.
And when those wells dry up, so to speak, then we close them down?
What typically happens is not that they dry up. The landfill is going to be producing gas for 50 years.
That area of the landfill? I mean, it could be.
Yeah, what usually will happen is they'll get bent because as the waste is decomposing, it can move, shift, and then so the well, which you drill straight over 10 years can start to do this and kind of kink over, and then it can pinch, and then you lose that well. And the response to that is to drill a new well most of the time. So we're abandoning older wells that have been in service for a long time and putting in new wells. So it's a constant management thing that we gotta do regularly. And as we fill new waste, that new waste needs wells. So it's an ongoing endeavor that we have to do to keep up with gas production. And if you can switch back one slide and then switch forward. All right, so the blue and green for those who can see that I just wanted to show you guys how we're filling in the gaps here. So switch forward and you'll see where the new wells are going to be placed. And so they're filling in those gaps. This contract is the request is for $578,000 to be able to install these 14 wells and the associated piping. BSC is a contractor who did the last well installation, very experienced contractor who has their own rig and comes here and does a really good job. So we're confident in making the recommendation. From a bidding standpoint, if you look on your reports, there was 4 bidders. The apparent low bidder was significantly lower than the others. So it's about $100,000 difference in that. We looked into their bid, and during investigation, we found that they did not include all the information we were asking for, which was projects within the last 3 years, two similar projects within the last 3 years, and they didn't have that experience in the timeframe we asked for. And so we consider them non-responsible. And we feel confident in BSC's quote because it's within hundreds of dollars of the others, and they're a very reputable, knowledgeable contractor. So we feel confident in making this recommendation, and I'll open it up to any questions you all may have.
I think just one clarifying point that ReGen determined that bidder's bid was non-responsive.
Non-responsive, thank you.
Not that the bidder was not responsible.
Thank you.
Same outcome, but.
It was just a table that you showed, $100K difference, like that seems like a lot. In between everybody else, it's like hundreds. So it was kind of like interesting how they framed it.
True.
But I'm glad that we're not going there because for whatever reason.
You know, saving $100,000 is tempting.
Yeah.
But you don't want that to be cause problems in the future of going with the ultra low bidder. And yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'm good with the direction.
Did we budget for this activity?
We did budget for it, and in the report we did budget $403,000 for it in this fiscal year. However, the construction is going to straddle 2 budgeting years, so we think we can make up that difference in the next fiscal year. Estimating projects in this environment is really tough. So the budgeting happened, earlier in the budget development last year. So in the current construction environment, it's a really difficult time right now to be able to make good estimates in years in advance.
Going to the next fiscal year, yep. You will lower that by $25,000 or whatever.
We'll include it in next fiscal year's budget because the project's going to go past June.
But you'll lower that to make up the shortfall.
We'll make up for this, yeah.
Any other questions? All right, open it up for public comment on this item. Public comment? No? Thank you, David, for your presentation and for maintaining our landfill. Trying to get as much gas.
Thank you for the support.
Appreciate it. So at this time, I'll take a motion if no one has any other comments.
Recommend action.
Director Paduri.
Second.
Okay, and a second with Director McGee. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to 9C, authorize staff to schedule a public hearing for fiscal year 26-27 disposal fee increase.
Thank you, Chair. This action item is to request authorization to schedule a public hearing for our proposed disposal fee increases. This does not approve the rates today. It's simply that formal public process that's required as part of our possible request. So last month, you guys did approve us to go ahead and notify the haulers of that proposed increase. So that way they could also do their own work in working on their budgets and with their municipalities that they are contracted with. There's no changes from last month's proposed fees. You'll see within our attachment, it's the same as what was presented to you. The structure of our revenue strategy is the same that was what presented last year in February in regards to that guiding principles and this idea of the annual incremental adjustments to basically create this planned, predictable approach that would be not reactive and just be proactive to all of the expenses that we see on the horizon and then our ongoing costs. So this idea of the rate structure increases to maintain our compliance when we're looking at increased costs year over year to continue to sustain what we do here. And also all of our fixed costs when we look at, our closure, post-closure funding sources, reducing those long-term liabilities that we have with our bonds, PERS unfunded liabilities. We also want to ensure that our workforce is stable and that we are always being competitive in the wages that we provide our team members, and to ensure that we also are funding required infrastructure for compliance and ongoing service providing. When we look at those capital improvements in our plan, sometimes there's blips. Sometimes things can happen and we have to be able to try to project out accurately, but also be able to address those needs as they come down the road. We also look at the revenue loss. Anything in regards to contract loss, it protects us from that. Declining tonnages, which we've already seen with our revenue projections for the current fiscal year. The commodity revenue declines that does occur, and it just enables us to move the needle closer to independence from our regional contracts that we're currently using. And just essentially avoiding that sudden fee spike that may be required if we see these huge swings in revenues and expenditures year over year. So the overall increase idea, that's consistent with our prior years. We have seen year over year. The rate design that you'll see based off of our attachments is relatively similar to last year's rate increases. There is an increase in our organics, and we all know that that is our most expensive form of processing here. What we've seen when we compare to our competitors per se, or our ones around our area, is that our increase that we're proposing is comparable and it's not going completely over and above beyond what would be normal. We tried to mitigate that increase last year to kind of slow roll it, but expenditures are increasing. We are investing in new technology with the CASP to help increase that in terms of expediting the processing, mitigating the dust and things like that that impacts the communities kind of around here. So those are large costs, and we do have to be able to support and sustain that cost that we're going to be implementing. Overall, that is the main differentiation. Everything else is actually a little bit lower when we look at last year's percentage increase proposed versus this current one that you are looking at. We have not received multiple forms of notifications of concerns with this. I think because we preemptively notify the haulers, they have enough opportunity to kind of look at what that would be with them. It's also important to note that this fee increase that's proposed is not something that it's a pass-through cost. And just for the public also to be aware that it isn't something that directly goes from us straight to our cities. It's something that goes to the hauler. They have control over how they are mitigating their overall costs. We are a piece of the pie when it comes to their overall expenditures, but we're not the whole pie in any means. And when it comes to like that actual net impact to our community members, it's much smaller than what it looks like, on the page when we look at percentages. So when we look at like this overall, this is the why, right? This is the why behind it. We're trying to mitigate risks. We're trying to protect our agency as a whole and everything that we do to support the communities, or protecting and supporting future as well as our employees, how we are now. That's what the idea is behind it. And so Again, this is just your authorization to schedule a public hearing, which gives even the community more opportunity to speak or any concerns that they may have. We want to make sure that we do this timely because there's a specific window that it has to be out and publicly notified so they have the opportunity to attend when that time comes. So that being said, the staff, it recommends that the board authorize that schedule of a public hearing for May 22nd so that we can provide that to our community members for them to come and attend. I'll open it for any questions you have.
Yes, so I see May 22nd is when you have it scheduled, what the recommendation is. So what will that entail as far as publicizing that to make sure that all the public is aware that that's going to happen since it's pretty quickly?
Yes, so we are required to have at least a 30-day window, and that's why we're asking for approval now to go ahead and immediately turn around, publicize in the newspaper, website, all of our forms that we would normally do. I'm not familiar with what we do because I'm 2 months old, but yeah, we do make sure that we're following all the parameters and requirements for that opportunity for the public.
Okay, and that's great. I just want to make sure of how we're publicizing it to make sure, because I know sometimes in talking to some of the constituents, some people say, well, I never even knew about it. And so I was curious as to how it's going to be publicized so I can be able to go back and let them know where, and not just on the website, because a lot of people don't even know to go to the website. So I know that you have an excellent communications team. So maybe they can give us a little bit more information on that.
Ida, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. I was going to say, so Ida actually, as our board clerk, is the one that is charged with publicizing these public hearing notices because there are specific things that we're required to do. So it's not necessarily a communications effort in that we are broadcasting this, but there are requirements that are part of this process that we make sure that we adhere to. So I defer to Ida in terms of the notices.
It is published in the Herald newspaper 2 weeks, a week prior to the public hearing, and then 2 weeks before the actual board meeting. So it'll be the Sunday paper.
Okay.
In the Herald, we do place it on the website. We do place notices at the Scale House and at our main gate or in front posting. So we do that. Is what we do normally.
Okay, thank you. That way it gives me information to get back to the constituents about. Thank you.
Yeah, Director Monterey.
I think just riding on that same kind of notion here. I think when I look at this, I mean, folks will read this like time to time. I mean, the best sense that they'll make is what is the impact of their bill. So if you're going to publicize this, recommend, maybe you're already doing this, but add it to the list of frequently asked questions or Q&A to say, what is your percentage rate on your bill? Is it 5% or is it 50 cents, whatever on the average bill, what it looks like? I'm also curious to know, because just looking at this, the most impact seems to be, if I look at a percentage increase, it's the 10% for organics. So why is that not 5%? So that could be a question, just saying. But I'm also curious to know why is that 10% too? So anyway, my suggestion is whatever you communicated to us, it'll be helpful, like that to be in a Q&A form. So you're not, or Ida is not answering all those questions kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer the 10%. We looked at the market for this organics component. We did it for all of them. We wanted to make sure that we were consistent with the strategy that we want to have low rates, but we don't want to be the lowest, right? So we evaluated every line item. We looked at the market around us, Santa Cruz, San Benito, San Jose, and within Monterey County. And we stayed with under the market. So it keeps our rate competitive so that we can continue to do it. We do acknowledge that there's challenges with the organics. It is one of the most difficult to streams when we look at commercial organics, has the most contamination, mainly because of the acceptance list that allows you to put compostables in them. And on the residential side, it's sheer volume that we're dealing with. So there is more capacity that we have to do. And we were very close to just break even on the organics component. So we really wanted to make it a viable service that we could still rely on some revenue source from the streams that we're receiving here. So we did a market analysis and compared across the area still remain very competitive and under the market rate on all of the items that you're ready to.
Great. Let's add that to the Q&A.
Thank you.
Director Byrne.
For those of board members that were here last time, plus all of you, how many people showed up either on Zoom or in person for the last time you did this for a hearing? Did anybody show up?
No, I don't believe so. I have to go back and check, but
Zero.
as far as.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
It's not likely we're gonna get much feedback.
Any other questions on this item?
We also do send a flyer mailer in our for our customers. We also send that out. So that's another way we communicate to our customers about the hearing.
The billing insert.
The billing inserts, yeah.
Okay.
And we did present last month in regards to kind of like an idea of what that impact would be on someone's bill. Unfortunately, it really does depend. It depends on the haulers, what they bring to each city when it comes to their overall contract, right? Because they ultimately would pass through whatever our costs are onto, the communities and the cities. So we did do kind of like an example of projected, but it's approximate. It's not ever going to be, right on. But yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at an average or a range.
Rosanna makes a really good point. We did an average for all of the members. It's about 37 cents, but there's a range between about 20 and 49 cents. So we just got to be careful. And then it is a component of what will come to your board. That is mainly for your guys's, because someone may come to Mayor Byrne and says, well, I thought it was only 37 cents, yet their bill reflects $2.50. It is the one disposal component in a larger scheme of a fixed rate adjustment that's prescribed in the agreement. So just keep that in there. We'll do our best to describe that on the website. But as officials, they may come to you and say, I thought the average was 37 cents. My bill says $3. We have to know the difference of the disposal component and all of the labor cost, fuel components that would go into the one that's coming to the city boards or the district boards that members sit on. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open this up for public comment. Any public comment on this agenda item? None online? Okay, we'll close public comments. I'll bring it back to the board. Any further comments, or I'll take a motion.
Recommended action.
All right, we have a first by Director Perduri. Second by Director Barber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thanks, everyone. We'll go on to staff reports. We have our report on the TAC.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. I'll be brief, describing our meeting on Wednesday, March 11th that we had for our Technical Advisory Committee. The Technical Advisory Committee first reviewed the draft budget for fiscal year 26-27 for our MOU that we hold with each of your member agencies for SB 1383 compliance. We looked at a year-over-year comparison of costs for all those compliance activities that ReGen conducts on your behalf collectively. And that budget has some new items this year in it. Those new items were previously covered by grant funding that your cities received directly from CalRecycle for SB 1383 compliance. So there were a few items that the TAC recommended continue that would be a part of now this MOU budget that weren't previously. Those include procurement of organic material, meaning compost that the cities and jurisdictions are required to purchase compost for SB 1383 compliance. We do have really solid low rates as a part of a direct service provider program, which allows you to not buy that directly, but sell it to farmers instead of taking it in yourself. So continuation of that existing program, technical outreach and assistance for edible food recovery generators, so grocery stores, restaurants, that sort of thing, and food recovery organizations, all part of our edible food recovery component of SB 1383. And also continuation of our Sort with Heart public education campaign that we launched last year. The TAC felt that it was important to continue that messaging to utilize those assets and keep them in the market a little bit longer. Year over year, the increase, the apples to apples portion of that increase is only 4.5%. So it's still a relatively low increase. That's again the cumulative budget, and we are working on the per population estimates currently for your member agencies. So this budget will be finalized and will come to this board for approval, likely on consent in May, and then to your councils for approval in June. I'll also stress that this MOU is what we've heard from our consultants is really a fairly good deal for the cities if your city staff were to do these activities directly or hired third parties to do these activities directly, that the city costs would be quite a bit higher for compliance in SB 1383. Next thing we notified was the fee increase notification timeline. So the fee increases that ReGen proposes to this board every year. We like to make our haulers aware of those increases as they're building their own rate impacts. So just giving them a heads up on the process so they can start to do their estimation. And we also received a report from HF&H Consultants regarding Green Waste Q3 results for the member agencies that they serve. And that was just a standard, the report that we receive on a quarterly basis. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to other correspondence. Under this section, we have a letter of thanks from Cal State Monterey Bay. We also have a letter from Cal Recycle on the Department of Resources, Recycling and Recovery. And then we also have a letter from the Monterey Bay Air Resources District. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
I'll just give a brief narrative. I know we still have some closed session items to attend to. Cal State Monterey Bay, strong appreciation for the 1383 grant. So it was a follow-up to that discussion. We had a lot of fun that day when recognizing how many people we've been supporting through the 1383 grant funding that we provide. So we're excited to receive that letter from Cal State Monterey Bay. And it came from the Vice President of University Advancement, Mike LaPlante. So we're just happy to receive and communicate that communication. And also with the Cal Recycle Department, what is it? Cal Recycle Material Characterization Sorting Team. They came out here and contributed to looking at materials to support Senate Bill 54, really looking at data to include policy driven improvements. So again, we continue to be a host for either Cal Recycle, subcommittees of Cal Recycle. We want to be part of what's going on, and we also want to be part of the solution. AB 54 is a study for producer responsibility that likes to be enacted. So they are getting a lot of data and research around it, is how do producers become more responsible for the public agencies or private agencies that are being impacted by these materials that they're not responsible for. So we're just happy to participate. And we appreciate Cal Recycle taking the time. Deputy Director, Policy of Development and Analysis, Linnea Whitney, presented the letter to ReGen Monterey. So we're just excited to continue to be at the forefront of change and policy that could be more favorable for our public agency. And I will allow David Ramirez to speak to the Air Resources District permit variance on docket 26-001.
Yeah, the closest analogy I can make to what this is the car smog check. So the engines need to get checked every year per their permit. And as you're familiar with your vehicle smog, you can either do the smog check or you can put it on non-operation status. So basically what this is we have to ask for permission to put those engines on non-operate. And because we were not running for a good portion of last year, we were not operating and we could not perform the smog check. And we need to ask for permission to put it to not operate it. And we had to raise our right hand and everything to get this variance. But it did, and I really want to appreciate the staff at the Air District for walking us through this process, because we are deviating from one of the requirements of having those engines. And this gave us the authorization to deviate and put them on non-operate while we figured out the ground fault PG&E issue, which was not our doing, et cetera, et cetera. And it gave us the variance for last year. And they said, well, since you may have this problem again, we'll allow you to have that option to put it on non-operate this year, we are gonna operate those engines. So we're gonna be doing the smog check, we're gonna be doing the source test. So this is kind of a null point at this time, but it gave us the permission basically to non-operate.
That was a great analogy.
Can I, going with that same analogy, does that mean that there are penalties for not doing?
No, if you put it on non-op, you don't get a penalty, right? If you pay a smaller fee to put it on non-operation, you're telling them. So there's not a penalty. There was a process to go through to be able to get it on that. And as long as we stick with the requirements in this process, we're golden, and we are.
Great.
Just one comment. I'd like to recognize Director Ramirez's leadership in developing relationships with MBARD. He's gotten me out there on several occasions, Zoe, Kristen, other team members, and the communication has really enhanced itself, where MBARD is really looking at our needs and realizing that we may have to be putting amendments into some of the actions that we're performing because we're evolving real time. So we're just really excited. Thank you, Director Ramirez, for initiating the discussions and then getting our team in front of the MBAR team as well. Appreciate that.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll move on to General Manager Communications.
Right, running right on time. Only a few items. We did have Mulch Madness giveaway. Mulch Madness is a giveaway event that took place on Saturday, April 4th. Keith Company, our local composter for ReGen. Customers of Cal-Am Water and Monterey Peninsula Water District were eligible to participate. Attendees received either bagged mulch or a truckload of mulch at no cost. The event encouraged water conservation by promoting the use of mulch in landscaping opportunities. We would like to thank Keith, Cal-Am Water, Monterey Peninsula Water Management District for hosting another successful March giveaway event. Green Waste Outreach Tour.
Question?
Yes, sir.
How much mulch?
How much did we give out?
Yep.
I have no idea, but I will give an answer for.
No, is this one bag or is this 1,000?
They could have got either a bag or a few bags or up to a truckload for free.
I'd be just curious.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, this is a program that the Water District puts on in concert with Cal-Am. It's not a ReGen program, but since we
participate.
We sponsor the event and host it here since the mulch is produced by Keith Day. So we're a supporting partner in this process.
Thank you.
Green Waste Outreach Tour at ReGen Monterey in late March. The communications team, hello, and Felipe hosted the full site tour for ReGen Monterey. 15 Green Waste Outreach and educational representatives. They're all Bay Area representatives from Green Waste joined the local outreach team to learn about ReGen's processing operations and educational programs. Our staff was energized by the group's dedication to diversion, highlighting a bright future for solid waste industry. People with little knowledge of the industry just joining it, and some that had 20, 30 years worth of experience. So it's very relevant, and we got to see, I think the energy came from so many people trying to do the educational components for many cities, either in the Bay, related down here, but the same initiative. So I think it was just all these companies that you start lining up. You can just imagine the number of representatives that are out there trying to educate the communities to participate in our program. So really excited by it. Also, we had Cal Recycle Jurisdiction Agency Compliance and Enforcement Team, which we also call JACE, visited ReGen Monterey in early April. Monterey Peninsula JACE representative Eugene Clark visited ReGen Monterey to conduct load inspections for Carmel by the Sea, Pacific Grove, Sand City, and select Santa Cruz County routes. The JACE branch of Cal Recycle is responsible for evaluating jurisdictions, implementation, and adequacy for Senate Bill 1383 programs. Many thanks to Green Waste staff, ReGen scales and operations teams for accompanying Eugene at the landfill to visit the MRF, the compost yards, and capture photos from our local regional jurisdictions. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. I move on to board communications. Any board communications? No? Oh, yes.
I'll just say apologies for arriving late today. I had the honor of presenting Honey with the Arts Champion of the Year award just a moment ago, partly because of ReGen's nomination of his work and his art. So I was able to do a shout out to ReGen in my comment. But want to acknowledge some of the things that we're doing in multiple places all at once.
Thank you, Mindy. Appreciate that. All right. Well, we're going into closed session next. We have 3 items. I'll read them off as in the order that we're going to do them. So the first one is going to be, we're going to discuss conference with labor negotiators. We are also going to talk about real property negotiation. This is dealing with CalAm. And then we're also going to talk about with our legal counsel and anticipated litigation. So are there any public comments on these items in our closed session?
Not show any, but I do show Director Arzola online. But I tried to promote him as a panelist, but I'm not sure if he wants to join.
Hi, Director Garcia Ariostola. This is Deborah Miller. We're checking in to see if you're participating in the meeting.
I am, sorry.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you for joining us. Are you participating under the Just Cause provision of the Brown Act?
Yes, I'm driving.
Okay.
For work purposes.
Okay. So as required by the Brown Act, could you please note for the record which of the Just Cause provisions you're relying on? And since you're driving, I can remind you that those include work for on behalf of your the local government entity or a state or other local government entity is one of the Just Cause provisions. There are others, including contagious disease and other kinds of illnesses and child caring needs. Can you, for the record, tell us which of the Just Cause provisions you're relying on?
It'd be the one traveling on official business.
Great, thank you. And then also, the Brown Act requires you to disclose on the record whether there are any people over the age of 18 with you, and if so, the general nature of their relationship with you. So could you please let us know if there's anyone over 18 with you?
No one with me.
Okay,
but
great.
myself.
Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Welcome, Alexis.
Thank you.
Deborah, does he need his camera on?
He does need to have his camera on. You do have to participate by both audio and visual.
Okay, if I have the camera on, can it point towards the roof of the car?
Let's start that way, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yes.
Just a reminder that I have to leave at 11:30.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
If we get started right away, we'll be done by 11:30.
Okay.
Plan to take a break?
Do you need a break?
Yes.
Like, okay, so maybe just like.
I've got a hard stop too, right at 11:30.
Okay, like 5 minutes.
And we called for public comment and there was no public comment,
There was no
right?
public comment, right? Yes.
No, there was none.
Good.
Okay.
Go ahead, Deborah.
All right, we're back in open session.
And as to the closed session, item 14, numbers 1, 2, and 3, there's no action to report.
Great, thank you. See everyone May 22nd for our next meeting.